The night was pitch black, with only the headlights of his truck cutting through the suffocating darkness. Jack Miller, a seasoned truck driver, had been on the road for hours, navigating the lonely stretch of highway that sliced through the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest. The hum of the engine and the rhythmic thump of the tires on the asphalt were his only companions as he pressed on, fighting the weight of fatigue that threatened to pull him under. Jack had heard the stories about this highway, the whispers of strange occurrences and vanishing hitchhikers, but he dismissed them as nothing more than urban legends. He had driven through countless desolate roads in his career, and nothing had ever fazed him. But tonight something felt different. The air was thick with an oppressive sense of unease, and the shadows seemed to dance just beyond the reach of his headlights. It started with the static on the radio. One moment, Jack was listening to his favorite late-night talk show, and the next, it was replaced by a cacophony of white noise and eerie whispers. He frowned and fiddled with the dial, but no matter how much he adjusted it, the static persisted. The whispers grew louder, more distinct, as if someone, or something, was trying to communicate with him. Suddenly, the truck's engine sputtered and the headlights flickered. Jack's heart raced as he gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles turning white. The truck slowed to a crawl before coming to a complete stop in the middle of the deserted highway. He cursed under his breath and reached for his phone, but there was no signal. He was completely alone. Jack stepped out of the cab, the cold night air biting at his skin. He opened the hood and peered at the engine, but everything seemed in order. Frustration mounting, he slammed the hood shut and turned to get back in the truck. That's when he saw them. Figures, faint and translucent, stood in the middle of the road. Their faces were obscured by shadows, but their eyes glowed with an unnatural light. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he took a step back, his heart pounding in his chest. The figures began to move towards him, their movements slow and deliberate, as if they were gliding over the ground. Panic surged through Jack as he scrambled back into the cab and locked the doors. He fumbled for the keys and tried to start the engine, but it wouldn't turn over. The figures were closer now, their glowing eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made his skin crawl. He could see their faces more clearly now, pale and gaunt, with hollow cheeks and lips twisted into unnatural grins. Jack's mind raced as he tried to think of a way out. He grabbed his flashlight and shone it through the windshield, hoping to scare them off, but it had no effect. The figures were almost at the truck now, their hands reaching out as if to touch the metal. Just as their fingers brushed against the door, the engine roared to life. Jack didn't waste a second. He slammed his foot on the accelerator, and the truck lurched forward, the tires squealing on the asphalt. The figures faded into the darkness as the truck sped away, but Jack could still feel their eyes on him, watching from the shadows. The road ahead seemed endless, stretching out into the abyss. Jack's hands trembled as he gripped the steering wheel, his mind replaying the encounter over and over. He glanced in the rearview mirror and froze. The figures were back, hovering just behind the truck, their eyes glowing like embers in the night. Jack's pulse quickened as he pushed the truck harder, the engine roaring in protest. The figures kept pace, their forms flickering in and out of existence. The whispers returned, filling the cab with a chorus of voices that seemed to be speaking directly to him. "Join us," they said. "You can't escape." Jack shook his head, trying to drown out the voices. He could see a light in the distance, a rest stop, a beacon of hope in the darkness. He focused on it, willing the truck to keep going, to reach that safe haven. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if they knew he was close to escaping. The truck barreled into the rest stop, and Jack slammed on the brakes, bringing it to a screeching halt. He jumped out and ran towards the lit building, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The whispers faded as he crossed the threshold, replaced by the reassuring hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of a television. Jack leaned against the counter, his heart still racing. The clerk looked up from his magazine, a bored expression on his face. "Rough night?" he asked. Jack nodded, unable to find the words to explain what had happened. He glanced out the window, half expecting to see the figures standing there, waiting for him. But the parking lot was empty, the only movement the swaying of the trees in the breeze. He spent the rest of the night at the rest stop, too afraid to get back on the road. As dawn broke, he cautiously made his way back to the truck. The highway was bathed in the soft light of morning, the shadows that had haunted him in the night nowhere to be seen. Jack continued his journey, but the experience had left a mark on him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that the figures were still out there, waiting for another chance to draw him into their ghostly embrace. The whispers lingered at the edge of his mind, a constant reminder that some roads should never be traveled alone in the dark.